If you can't get it off, so let me know. I'll do it.
And now it's soggy and then like picks up the
I didn't know it was
dirt.
gonna be that wet.
Yeah, that's true.
When nobody's there.
You stepped out of box.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it.
It's the world's worst wired system. That's a lot. It's extending your light catering system.
But it looks so professional.
I appreciate the lights.
If you can't see it, it's over.
If you close your eyes, it's professional.
Yeah.
Stop sharing.
Well, we just broke my computers.
Last time I was
Techie issues.
Oh, great. Okay, we can see your screen. We can see your screen.
I'm not going to do it anymore. I thought it was fucking
I knew where it was at.
Oh, wait.
Hey!
I watched far too many.
You ready to go?
With other
TV
students.
shows to not know what someone
Yeah, you can
Close
start.
enough. Yeah. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming to this November early Tuesday special edition of the IGDA Ann Arbor monthly meetup. If you're wondering why it's so early, I feel like we all saw each other yesterday, right? It hasn't been that much time. Thanksgiving was smack dab on our normal date later in the month. And we couldn't do Thursday of this week because another event had it, right? I know it's hard to believe another event taking priority, but that's what happened. That's how it be sometimes. But we do appreciate you being here, and it was awesome to see the additional games at the back this month. The Indie Dev Lounge, just a reminder, it's a new thing. Goes from 6 to 7. You can bring in any games you want. You can watch people play, get feedback. A really good way to test things out in a low-stakes environment, get feedback, and then maybe later you can take it to YomaCon or a bigger meetup, and you've already tested it out. It'll go better, okay? So what I want to do first is I want to ask for any community announcements. Has anyone got any announcements? Go for it.
The Game Developers Guild at Eastern is looking for people. It can be people who are not students as well. We can take 25% of our organization can be non-students. So if you're interested, let me know. You can take a picture of this.
What is the Game Developers Guild? Is it a club, or what are you going to do?
It's a student organization of people interested in making a game. Currently, we're trying to make a game for the April showcase next season here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very good, very good. There's an org that seems similar at University of Michigan Dearborn and U of M here, so be sure to talk with them, okay? Other community announcements? Yes?
Applications for the winter 2023 Woofle Soft Studio have opened. So I'll post the link in the general chat. Our projects have not been determined, but we'll probably send an announcement where they are. Make sure to fill that out if you want to be a part of the studio. We've gotten several successful members of the studio from IGDA. They work as great portfolio pieces because polished in all departments and big teams.
Heck yeah. Very, very good. Thank you. Yes?
I'm working with someone writing a paper for class recommending for a game dev, game design, some kind of minor programmer major at the university. I am one of these days going to make a Google form to try and pull some data from people regarding if they're interested in going into the industry, things they'd like to see from a potential course, or if they're already in the industry, things they would have potentially have liked to have seen, or if they were to have already taken a course of some kind, what they liked about it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested at any point, come see me. Maybe I can get some data, your email or something, and when it's ready, I'll send it over to you.
Super cool. Thank you. Any other community announcements?
Stardock continues to be hiring. I don't know the positions because Rand's not here. But go to our website, stardock.com. Look at careers.
Very good. A reminder, Stardock, our state's largest video game studio, not too far away in Plymouth. About, 20-minute drive?
Yeah, give or take.
Awesome. Very good. Any other community announcements? So it looks like we don't have as many people as we usually do, partly because of the weather. It's a little frigid outside, isn't it? Is it still snowing? But it does look like we have some new people. So what I want to do really quickly is I want to very quickly run through. I want your name quickly, and then I want the game you're currently playing. All right? We're going to start at that side. We'll come up this side, do this side, and then hit that wall. Okay? This wall first.
For now, we are currently playing Roller.
Belzer?
Will, Ace Combat 7.
Ace Combat 7. Deltarune. Oxenfree. Hearts of Iron. Which one? The Witcher.
Josh.
Hearthstone. Rocket League.
Cole, Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Cheng Yu, Magic the Gathering Arena.
Magic the Gathering Arena.
Andy and Learning Rust.
Excellent.
Oh, and Overwatch 2.
Alex, tabletop.
Amelia, Stray.
Connor, I'm back in Skyrim again.
Jeremy, Mario plus Rabbids 2, Sparks of Hope. So
Very good.
damn good.
Corbin, Pokemon Go and We Who Are About to Die. It came out yesterday. It's awesome.
We Who Are About to Die.
Yeah, it's a super
That's
awesome.
pretty
indie game.
ominous.
It's really cool.
Awesome. Very
7-year dev time, indie team.
7 years.
Yeah.
Freedom Planet 2 took 7 years.
Yeah.
Our main topic today. Yes.
So, Genshin Impact. I
Genshin
really
Impact.
didn't want to admit that to the whole
We're in good company.
Fatima, and
It is a good game.
I'm back in Minecraft.
Minecraft.
Respect.
Connor, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask.
Nikhil, Rogue Legacy 2.
Logan, World of Warcraft Classic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Dustin, Tunic.
Tunic.
Brendan, Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium.
Adam, Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact. Very good. Tunic, published on the west side of our state at Finji and Grand Rapids.
Really?
Yes.
Lindsay, Assassin's Creed.
Ian, League of Legends.
Colin, Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
Nathan, unannounced Starbucks title.
I know, sorry. Very good. And I have to remember what I was playing. Was I playing anything? Probably Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Austin Yarder. Yep. And I run it. I run the IGDA Ann Arbor chapter with my colleagues Corbin Reeves of EMU in Kettering and Jeremy Bond of Michigan State University. The structure of these events is typically, right, 6 to 7, we have Indie Dev Lounge, really chill, grab some pizza. I think there is some more pizza back there, by the way. If anyone wants any more slices, you can go for it now. Then from 7 to 8, we have the community showcase. We have 5 guest speakers who have exactly 10 minutes, no more, no less, to show us anything that they want to. Projects they've been working on. They could just come and rant about anything they want to if they want to. We usually don't have that though, but one day. It's a good time. We'll do 5 of those, then we'll take a little break. At about 8:30, and probably for about an hour, we will have Leilani Wilson, who is a phenomenal indie composer, who's actually done a lot of the music that you heard tonight in the background, working on games like Freedom Planet 2, Bunny Must Die, Leilani's Island, no relation though. It's fantastic. It's going to be great to have her and learn about that indie composer life, okay? Anyway, I think we're just about good to go, all right? So Nathan, you are our first speaker. You've got 5 minutes to show us what you want, and then we have 5 minutes for Q&A. Are you ready?
Sure.
Go for it.
Hi, my name is Nathan Hanish. I'm representing myself, not Startup tonight. I'm working on a project I've been talking about the last couple of meetings. Tonight I'm talking about automation with Google Sheets and Python. I'm going to be talking fast. There's a lot of technical information. It's in the presentation, which is in the Discord chat. Woo! All right, so basically I'm taking older title, sprite collage style, this is below the root, trying to modernize about 500 screens using Stable Diffusion. This is what I presented last month, ways to paste the stuff together and make it look cool. I want that fast. So here's the rough process. Cluster the elements, turn them into pings, add noise and masking, run through Stable Diffusion, composite it all together. Problem with that is it's tedious and error prone, and there's lots of image files. And I need to associate game data like text and rules and audio and stuff with those game files. I want to be able to have a project snapshot for the whole thing, not just one screen. I want to support collaboration, work with other people, potentially in real time. I want to know how to load that data onto any device. I want to be able to act as an AI art director, and I have no budget for this. So last month somebody said, hey, why don't you just use Google Sheets? I thought that was a great idea, so I brought in all the screens, the original screens, figured out how to link in the images, and start pasting in some associated game data. Big piece of that is this composition sheet where I bring the different elements together. So let me walk through some of the technical process here. Also, a little bit of Google Sheets magic here to get stuff into a grid. Basically, every little technical piece here took about an hour worth of Googling to figure out. So that line there was about an hour. Okay, so you want to use Google Sheets with Python. First, you need a Google developer account. Then you need a project. Then you need to turn on the Google APIs. You need to set up service count. create credentials, and share the document with your service account. None of that stuff was obvious. Okay, so go to that URL, make a developer account. Go to that URL, create a project. Associate the Google APIs with your project. Then create a service account. Then you have to put the right rights, so in this case editor rights, associated with that service account. And then finally go to your Google document, credentials. You have to export the credentials, which are basically a JSON file, which I believe we see here, that has a bunch of information that the Google APIs need in order to access your documents. Right, so you have to export those, give them a decent name, and then you have to share your document with your service account. Great, so now there's the Python part. You want to use Python, well, you have to get a copy of Python. I'm using the Miniconda installer because a lot of the Stable Diffusion stuff works with that, and it has a nice package manager. Also, you need pip, which is a package installer for Python. Once you install pip, that gives you a really easy way to install the Google APIs. It's literally just a couple lines of the command line. And as I work through this, so at the top here we've got all of the different packages I had to import. And every one of those, like, well, the Python doesn't know what to do with it. It gave me a syntax error. So you take the error, you go to Google, you hit enter, it says, oh, go import this thing. So you use pip, you install that thing. Lather, rinse, repeat. So we've got a bunch of packages, mostly Google and I/O stuff. You have to set up your scopes and your credentials, and then access the Google APIs, and then finally get the UUID for your document, which is embedded in the URL when you go on Google Docs or Google Sheets, and you have to use that as your sheet ID. Okay, all the files in Google Documents are actually, it's a flat file system. So folders are just labels. And there's not a way to like create or add a folder. You have to see if it exists. If it doesn't, create it. There's the code, you can look at that later. Similarly, for a file, you have to see, does it exist? If it doesn't exist, create it. If it does exist, you can update it. Same thing with subsheets. Does it exist? Yes, no. You have to go through exceptions in this case to find out if it exists or not, which is a little wonky. And then for more advanced stuff, you have to use this fast
60 seconds.
command. All right, and you embed some JSON. All right, and then set up a template, populate the page, more image magic stuff. Download the data back on your computer, run it through some command line stuff. There's examples. And then push it back up to the sheet. And then this is the sheet that we just generated with the pings and the noisy pings, which will then feed into Stable Diffusion next month, but we're out of time. Okay, so coming soon, driving Stable Diffusion with a spreadsheet and Python daemons. It'll be super exciting. Art directing from a Google Sheet, automatic composition, and running a game from data in Google Sheets. My question for the group is, how could you use Google Sheets in your project?
That's awesome. Oh, question time. Questions?
I mean, I imagine I could probably use Google Sheets to like organize basically like various areas. Like if I'm doing a lot of writing for each area, I could probably compile that into a sheet and into a spreadsheet.
Please, Corey, yes.
Currently, we use Google Sheets to drive and update lore documents in real time, so we can add in new like images and text to like auto update into our live service games that have like the lore and story and even item descriptions in some cases. But this is really awesome.
I use Google Sheets all the time for things like data that I want to read in and be able to change without changing my application.
Mm-hmm.
So I export it as a CSV and then pull it in publicly over the internet.
Wouldn't it be even cooler if you didn't have to export it?
That's right. Well, I mean, automatically exports, but yes, I'd love to tie into it more directly.
You used Google Sheets a lot for your games, didn't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I have a lot of crazy Google Sheets tech. I can talk about it next time, maybe.
That's insane.
Yeah, to be fair, this idea came from Austin.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yes, guy in the back.
Has there been any more word on the legal aspects of Stable Diffusion? I know there's a lot of debate and a lot of money going into different startups and stuff with it.
Yes, there are a lot of questions out there.
No answers yet?
No, and for the things I'm doing, I don't think I'm going to get sued for bark.
Fair.
I think it'll be okay.
I just wondered.
But yeah, it is an open area of discussion, and there's a lot of mud fighting on the internet going on right now, which is very entertaining to watch. And I'm very curious to see how it all resolves.
Yeah.
I can't remember if this was asked before, but does this get easier or harder the more complex graphics you're putting into the system yet?
I would think that it gets harder. One of the things about this particular project is it's very flat. Like no one screen is more complicated than another. And one of the reasons I've chosen this because I work at big projects every day, and you get lost in them. I want something that is like, I can wrap my head around the whole thing. Yeah.
I know that feels so very well.
Yeah. It's like I spent the last 2 weeks taking a number and making it 20% better.
So questions? Questions?
We still have time. Go ahead.
This is so ridiculous, but Google Apps Script. Searching the documentation is horrible because you have to type Google Apps Script every time before the search term. Do you have a better way to
No.
search
In
it?
fact, that's why I say every item on every one of these slides took me an hour.
Yeah, it's
Because,
yes.
like, you can find an example, but they're like, oh, use our special API that wraps around Google Sheets. Well, I don't want that. Or here's an example in JavaScript. Or here's an example with some JSON that you can kind of sort of translate. And on like page 12 of the Google of Google for your particular search, you might find somebody who in a YouTube video did the thing you want. So that part of it is kind of infuriating, honestly.
Yeah.
But the APIs are really powerful and free.
So to add to the pain a little bit, and I might be wrong about this, but I do feel like Google is the kind of company that's like seemingly every 6 months they want to refresh the styling and location of a lot of their stuff.
Yes.
And so if you go and look up a YouTube video to follow the steps to get your stuff working in a basic way, many of them will be very outdated.
Oh,
Yeah, lots of dead ends.
I ran into a lot of things.
Yeah. Cool stuff if you can get through it though. Questions?
Yeah, and honestly, that was one of my motivators for putting all of the code in the slides.
Yeah.
So somebody can look at these and be like, oh, well, it's not actually that complicated.
Yeah, it's very kind. Okay, any final questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Nation. Okay, next up we have Corbin Reeves and Azure Ravens Entertainment.
Let's not trip over the mess of cables that is this front area.
Everyone who's listening right now on Discord or Twitch, I'm sorry the owl camera's not working, but you've got, I think, about 30 people or so watching. Maybe we will restart the owl so everyone can listen to the hoot sound effect when it begins, but also so that we can try and get the video working.
More importantly, to hear the owl.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. The owl is a 10 out of 10 audio cue. All right. Almost ready.
Okay.
I'll pin this. Why did I not see the thing I need to see?
Right. Ready to go?
Almost there.
I think you're sharing your screen still.
Sorry?
All right.
Click that green button again. Or click that little button.
Awesome.
Sweet.
I'm ready whenever.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
There's a dog. Sorry. Very easily distracted in case it's not that noticeable. Hi, I'm Corbin. This is a Ravenwood update, the project that our studio has been working on for a little while now. Yes, we are still working on our VR blacksmithing game.
Are you
That is still
sharing your
coming.
screen? Wait, can people see it?
Yes.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, they can. Okay, go ahead.
Back to that. We are still working on a VR blacksmithing game. Honestly, we're planning on probably soft launching it into early access in December, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about Ravenwood, which is our RPG game following along in the vein of Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, and Fantasy Life. So, a little bit of an update on our roadmap here. In quarter 3 of 2022, we kicked off our development for the first big time in Ravenwood. We've been kind of working in the background doing documentation and some early art concept for it, but we really kicked it off back in July when we got really heavily into it. We got some of our major initial funding in from WeFunder, and that was awesome. Really kicked us off to a good start. For quarter 4 right now, we're working on our Vertical Slice / publisher demo. Vertical Slice sounds very polished. Our publisher demo feels more accurate at the moment, but it's coming together. We're working on a first playable. Our main goal is to make sure that we have a crafting lifestyle done, a combat lifestyle done, the fishing minigame in because fishing is awesome, and harvesting, farming, the main core mechanic of that loop. But our game itself has a lot of other little loops going on at the same time. For quarter 1 of 2023, we're hopefully going into publisher talks and securing the funding that we need. That is our big goal. That is our live and die date is quarter 1 of 2023. We're optimistic. We've had some pretty good feedback up to this point from some publishers, VCs, and angel groups. But we plan to chase grants as well. We aren't just all in on the publisher route. We've also had some good talks with VCs and their awesomely named syndicate groups. It's a collection of people with a lot of money. Scary name. Also scary people. So here's some fun things that I got to do. We've been working a little bit on our post-processing stack. The image on the left there is without the post-processing stack. The image on the right is with it. We're still dialing it in, but it's getting better and better every day. It looks a lot better, a lot more refined and less washed out. Here's some UI work. So we had a fun, we call it a game jam for the weekend. It's called Crunch. We worked all weekend. We had a lot of fun doing it though. But here's some awesome UI work that got done. The upper right-hand corner there, I'm going to get yelled at for it. It's not technically done, but it's awesome enough to see. It's coming together, it's looking really good, and I think the art style itself is very adorable. It worked, awesome. We have our fishing mini game. Forgive us on the video quality there, but we started working it out. We went with a Harvest Moon style for this one. We've actually been working on a second fishing mini game because this felt a little too basic, a little too bland, a little too boring. And to be honest with you, the team's done a great job making it, but at the end of the day, we were all like, meh, we're not really feeling it. Blacksmithing minigame has been a work in progress. A lot of you have had a chance to play this. We've been refining it to have it all come together and be really enjoyable. We have a couple of different things we can craft right now. We don't have all the stations set up just yet, but we have some cool animations in for it. And it's really early stages, but it's coming together and it's feeling fun. We're speeding things up, making it work a little bit better. We got a lot of awesome feedback last month about the speed of the minigame, so we accelerated a lot of it so that it comes through and plays a lot better. We got some more awesome feedback today about where our actual hammering thing right there happens, and how if it comes off at the very start there on the side, it takes forever. So we plan to kind of add some padding to that initial thing so that doesn't happen as frequently, if at all. You can also see there's still some visual bugs appearing with that flash appearing there. If you play the minigame,
90
is that still
seconds.
happening? If they play it at the
Oh,
station?
yeah.
Yeah, it is still bugged. That's fine. It's life. We've also got some really cool art done. We've been working really hard. We have a kind of character animation montage coming through. We do all of our own animations in-house. We do all of our 3D modeling in-house. We do all of our work in-house, which has made it really interesting. And then we've got some farm animals doing their thing as well. And then, I forgot to cue it up, but I'm going to cue it up now. In the background, we're going to have some music playing. So this is our battle theme. So we also have all of our own music done here in-house as well, which has been really exciting. Getting to do the music in-house and work with the composer has been an awesome process. If you have not had the opportunity to do so, I really recommend it. There is nothing like talking with the composer, getting back and forth feedback, and getting custom music made for your game, as opposed to going on and doing what I used to do back in the day, which is battle theme music. Listen to 40, rip one that looks good, attribute rights, move on. It's been awesome. We have right now 5 different tracks that have been made, because our composer works part-time with us, and they're coming together really nicely. This is one of our enemy characters right now that we have done. We have mocked up for our combat demo. It's the Stabbit. It's a rabbit that stabs you.
All right, time. But
awesome.
you can keep showing stuff while we ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, questions. Oh. All right, questions.
Yeah.
What kind of platforms are you planning to release?
Yeah, so right now we're building an Unreal Engine 5 with a target goal to launch on PC and on consoles roughly at the same time period. Right now we haven't really knocked off any platform. We're kind of aiming for all of them at the moment. If we get the funding goal that we are shooting for, our goal is to release on all of them. For that, we might work with either hire or work with a third party to help us get it ported, but it really depends. The last conversation I had said it's about 300 hours to port your game to Xbox, and kind of close to that for PS4. And it really depends on how you build it from the start. So at that point, it might be worth bringing in another engineer or so to help with the porting process. Connor's looking relieved, so probably not. We'll probably keep it just to him. Go ahead.
Are you planning on translating?
We are. So we're planning, first in mind, we're planning to use Google Sheets to help us out with the translation process, which is going to be really fun because we know how to connect Google Sheets to Unity. We aren't quite sure how to do it with Unreal, but we'll figure it out. But that's kind of the method right now for our plan.
I just mentioned it because this and then the info UI document both have English text baked in.
Yes, they do right now.
Can be a challenge.
It is going to be a challenge. The UI text, it's a little easier for us to edit right now. The models, Amelia, the models, is that textured on the text for the sign, or it's not modeled in RA, right? It's
No,
just sculptured?
it's a texture.
Sweet. Then yeah, so we'll have to make edits to that and plan for that accordingly. Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
Phenomenal animation textures and modeling, but the actual question I wanted to ask was, how much different is it working in Unreal 5 compared to other engines?
I consider myself to be engine agnostic at this point. They are all a game engine. Read the documentation, it's not too hard to pick it up. We were a Unity shop forever, and then we decided one day that Unreal worked better for a few of our means, and we said, cool, we'll figure it out, and then we did that. We actually got some client work that was in Unreal, and they were like, hey, can you do it? And we're like, yeah, sure, and then we figured it out.
Are there any specific problems you've had in Unreal 5?
It's C++, not C#.
Yeah.
So you have to learn C++ if you don't already know it. You can do a lot with blueprints, but at the end of the day, you will need to program to make a fully finished game. Unreal markets that you can do it all in blueprints, and then in small text they say, but don't. It's really great. So right now we're pretty much all blueprints for the vertical, with a little bit of C++ here and there. But that's kind of how it goes. You sprinkle it in, you mix it together. They have a best practices for it. But yeah, I personally recommend that don't sign yourself away to one engine. It makes it very hard if you have to go work somewhere else. Especially because like Stardock uses C++. Shoot, there's a few other big studios that are using Unreal right now in the local area. It's a pretty even split between Unreal and Unity, or like a bespoke C++ built engine. So, but yeah, so we're chasing funding and going through that. I'm also working on, just a side note, I'm working on a funding in flyover states PDF. Thank you, Jeremy, for the awesome name for that.
Yes.
But I'm basically working on a PDF document to help like Midwest and Michigan people raise funding by going over what worked, what didn't work, what things did I not know that I needed when I showed up to a meeting for the first time, what things that had I no idea that they would expect from us when we showed up for the first time. There is nothing worse than showing up to your first VC meeting thinking you have everything prepared under the sun, and they go, hey, where's this document? And you go, what is that document? Now, thankfully, I worked with a guy who was very nice, and he was like, let me tell you. But he was also somebody who's like, he's an older gentleman who was looking to kind of pass on his knowledge. And then I met with somebody else who wanted an entirely different set of documents that I didn't have, who just ended the conversation when I didn't have them. So, you know, it happens. That's why it's been going into the PDF. If you've had any experience raising money and you'd like to share your experience with that process, I would love to chat with you. I'm trying to expand it every day and share where I can. I'm also going to continue to show off Azure Ravens and Ravenwood. If you get a chance, my big ask for you all is at the end of the meeting, we should be setting up our computer again for a brief playtest of a few things. If you could come try it out, give us some feedback. The more feedback we get early, the better we can make the game in the long run.
Right. Any final questions? Final question?
Yeah.
How big is the team?
Right now, 10 people total.
Okay.
So it's a reasonably sizable team.
Okay.
So it's been fun.
Excellent. All right. Corbin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Perfect timing. The music ended there too.
Good timing. All right, next up we have Dustin Moravito with Sharing Indie Insights, the Twitch show where we play your new and unfinished indie games.
I don't know if I have permissions to share my screen. I just joined the Discord server like 10 minutes ago.
You'll get it when you start, yeah.
Can I try and restart the owl? Like, will
Not so much worried about. Yeah.
It's glowing.
Pretty cool.
Boom.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, it's working. It worked. Hello, everyone. All
I
right.
can't hear you because everything's working. One second.
Oh.
We unplugged it, so everything's going to be working. They should be able to hear us now?
All
Probably.
right, great.
What's your username?
Dustin Allen. I'm in the chat. Yeah, that one.
Probably want some permissions.
All times.
Permission granted. You're good to go.
Okay. Ready to go?
Yeah, we are.
Dude, I can see my face.
I think the owl can't quite decide what it wants to show.
It's chasing Selwood right now because
Yeah.
she's moving, so.
Gotcha.
Let me know if it's working.
Okay, ready?
Am I?
You're
Watch stream.
Am I?
You're good to go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, how's it going, everybody? I'm talking about the Twitch show I do with my wife to play indie games. My name is Dustin Morbido. I'm from Southeast Michigan, so I haven't been out to the Ann Arbor area too much. I have met a couple of people in passing, but this is my first time kind of coming out, but I hope to do it more frequently in the future.
Oh, just a moment, just a moment. I'll pause your time.
I don't know why it's white. Did you share your full screen or your application?
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Share your full screen, not your application?
Yeah, you have to switch tabs.
Change windows or screens? Okay. Let's do that.
Very
Here
good.
we go.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, I'm Dustin Morbido, South of Michigan. I started Cubicle Horn Games with my wife in 2014. We're a two-person indie studio that makes small 2D games together. We just released our first game, Down the Drain, this past year in June, and we're going to release our second game, Super Cucumber, sometime next year. After releasing a game, it's been awesome to have something out as opposed to just telling people we're working on stuff for months and years at a time. It's really renewed my passion for small, cool games, and we want to help do more in the community to share other people's cool games. Two ways we're trying to do this is with our Twitch show and our podcast. So Indie Insights is the Twitch show we do usually Thursdays or Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, depending on our availability. We try to do it once a week. We'll play anything you've got. If it's a thing you've had out for a while, if it's a thing you have just released, if it's a thing you've been working on, if it's a student project, whatever. If you've got it and you want eyes on it, we'll play it. If you can't make it to the stream while it's live, we archive everything to YouTube, so for the developers' benefit, they can come and check stuff out after the fact if they want to see us play. We usually play for an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time. And then after the fact, we usually talk about the games in our podcast, which happens every 2 weeks. And in the future, we're also theoretically looking to have more developers on. We had our first guest developer a couple weeks ago, and that was a lot of fun. So we're hoping to do that more in the future for people who might be interested. If there's a way you guys can help us with that, it's first and foremost, send us your games. Email me. I'll have contact info in a minute. Hit us up on Twitter. Catch us in various Discord servers. We're always looking for stuff. It basically saves me a step if there's like a queue of stuff we can check out that people are actively interested in sharing with us. Sharing our content if you can. I can only promise that we'll play your game and we'll do our best to give the best constructive criticism and highlight that we can. But I can't say that we have a giant audience. The podcast gets maybe 5 to 15 listens a week. Twitch streams usually have 5 people in there maybe, but we're hoping that that'll maybe grow and we can actually get more eyes on stuff too. And then let us know how we're doing. If you catch a Twitch stream, if you look at one of the archives, let us know how we do covering other people's projects. I know that of the handful of developers we've done, I think we've done 6 to 8 games so far. Most people have come back and said, we really appreciate you checking it out, and we thought your feedback was super valuable. So if that's true, let us know. If you think there's something we can do better, let us know about that too. Wrap things up. Indie games make me hopeful. The wider game industry, I feel makes me more depressed every day with microtransaction bullshit and time monopolizing garbage. But almost every time I play somebody's weird little indie thing, it comes from a well-meaning place and they're just trying to get out something cool, unique, and fun. And we want to look at more of that stuff. So help us help you look at some of your games, and I hope we can eventually play everything that everybody's been working on over the the last couple years or so. So with all that said, that's some of my contact info.
Awesome.
You can find us on the website. You can find us on Twitter for the moment. My email always works. I've also got a big stack of business cards back there, so if anybody wants to take one on the way out, come see me after all the talks and stuff are done.
Fantastic.
And with all that,
excellent. Any
anybody who
questions?
wants to ask me something, go for it.
So I've got a comment first. I interacted with a an indie streaming channel very similar to what this sounds like called Mega Team Up like a year or two ago. And they were a very small channel, and I only found them because they found my game on itch. They randomly play games. And in my game, you can use the computer in the game to get to my Discord in real life, and they found me there. Those small channels, they might not have a ton of views, but because they're still small, they're very intimate, right?
For sure.
And you can really get great feedback, and you can build pretty cool relationships, like actually interacting with the streamer. And so, like, I encourage you to submit your games to channels like this. It can be really, really great.
For sure. And the thing we try to offer on top of that is, like, obviously we want to play pretty much anything that people throw at us, but we're also coming from the background of developers, so we know how hard it is. We know when stuff's broken. Like, I think the game criticism online from big or small creators runs the gamut of, like, you know, sometimes people are, like, open-minded and relatively understanding, and other times people are just, like, looking at a thing and they're like, oh, that texture's broken, minus 10 points. And that's not, like, helpful to you to make your game better. That, like, so we do our best to give, like, constructive criticism that can, you know, help you iterate on your thing, or just like just thoughts that we have from the point of view of developers who have gone through the whole process of, you know, making a thing soup to nuts. So go for it.
What kind of game is the one you've released?
It's called Down the Drain. It's a 2D roguelite shooter. It's starring a little snake named Marta, and she basically goes into sewer pipes and you have to clean out a bunch of garbage. Yeah, thank you for asking.
What's Super Cucumber?
That it will be a 16-bit inspired 2D platformer that will hopefully have a bunch of cool secret stuff in it, and like it's very like Mega Man-esque, and that'll be out sometime next year, I hope.
Can you like show us any footage or any images? Can you find them?
Oh God.
You don't have to.
I don't have anything. I don't want to take any more time. If you check us out online, like our website has a lot of that stuff, and like yeah, if you follow us, it'll help us share your games, and then you can see the stuff we've been working on too. I'll leave it at that.
Questions? All right, going once, going twice.
Sorry if you mentioned this, but when is the stream?
So we usually do Thursdays or Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's really dependent on our other work schedules, because my wife sometimes works weekends and nights. But we'll usually try to post at least a day or two before we do a thing. But if you check out our channel on either Thursday nights or Saturday nights at 7 p.m., that's when the streams go live, and all the archives go on YouTube pretty much that night. So if you don't catch us while we're live and you want to watch that after the fact, you can go to our YouTube channel. It's Cubicorn Games everywhere: Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that nonsense.
So you have a podcast too?
Correct. Yep.
What's the name of the podcast?
Cubicorn Games Podcast. You can find it through the website. We tweet the episodes when they go out. I'm looking into branching out into other Twitter alternatives because who knows if that website will exist in 6 months. But yeah, you can always find us at our website for sure. So cubicorngames.com has links to all the stuff we're up to.
Just more a comment. Dustin, I think, played my game because we both showed our games at GDEX in Ohio.
That's correct.
And he mentioned it on his podcast, and even a few notes of criticism there were helpful. So yeah, it's definitely worth having him try the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the kind words. And yeah, like I said, we'll do our best. So I guess if no one else has got anything, like I said, I'll just close with, if you've got a thing, send it to us. We want to play it. And with that,
Great. I have one final question. What is a cubicorn?
It's just our little logo. It's a thing that my wife made in college. So that little, it's a cubic unicorn.
Got you.
It's a thing she doodled on a pad initially, and then we were like, we need to call our company something, and just like,
awesome.
Let's do this.
All right, Dustin, thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Okay, so next up we have Peter Lance.
Oh, good.
We have, Jeremy Bond will go last. Peter Lance with Veil, Alter Unknown, a new project. Peter, I believe, if I recall, made a phenomenal 3D platformer, Castle on the Coast. You can get it on Steam. It stars this giraffe, and it's a really great adventure. I encourage you to check it out. Let me see, and Peter is in the Discord.
Whoa, that's loud. Can you guys hear me?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yay! Let me try to share the screen. I guess my timer's probably starting out, right?
Check the echo.
Nope, we can start whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna use YouTube as my primary way of showing things. Can you guys see this? Are YouTube screen?
Yep.
Can you hear music?
We're watching your what's that, Unreal Engine?
This is an Unreal Engine, yeah.
Yeah, we see the Unreal screen, but we do not hear any music.
No music? Okay. I'll just show the video, and if nobody hears it, it's fine.
I think, Corbin, what do they have to do? They have to...
You need to share your screen. So cancel what you're doing. It's going to have you share your application. You need to click on the other tab for share screen.
And that'll get audio?
Yes.
So I'll share my screen,
Sure.
and then I'll click the Chrome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Application, click on Chrome, and then you're good to go.
Okay. I was doing that before. This is the test.
Yes, I think we can hear it.
We can.
Okay, cool. Alright. So I'll do the little show thing. Alright.
Alright, go for it.
Yeah, so this is a project called Veil Alter Unknown. It's a 3D platformer, and I'll just kind of let the trailer do most of the speaking for me. But yeah, it's a 3D platformer, it's a collectathon. So yeah, that's the game. I also have the Unreal project open, so I'll kind of share that screen real quick. Wait, that's not the right window. No, that is the right window. Can you guys see the level in the background?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, now I can screw around the game while talking. Yeah, so I'm a solo developer. I work in Unreal Engine, and I've just been working on this game for the past almost 2 years now. In my free time, actually, mostly full time. I was working a job for a brief 7-month stint before I realized I wanted to keep working on this. And yeah, it's basically like a game where you collect things. They're like a normal 3D platformer. Okay, I don't know why that one's broken, but and the idea is you just have a bunch of broken movement mechanics. So you can glide around, you can hover, you have a hoverboard, so you can kind of go around like this. You have a grappling hook. You can slide at a ridiculous speed, and I really wanted to make a game that was less hand-holdy, where the level lets you go wherever you want to go, within the general bounds, I guess. And also, I just wanted to make it so that you could choose which level you want to go to next. I was really inspired by the game Fez, because in that game, it felt like the game just kind of dumped you into the world and allows you just to stumble into tons of like crazy locations. In terms of the story, the premise is you're a girl explorer, and she gets trapped in an alternate dimension and is trying to find a way out. And the game kind of thematically centers on the idea of the unknown. So it's about exploring an unknown world with like unknown phenomena going on, and also kind of finding characters that are kind of mysterious and she doesn't quite understand them. And also it's kind of struggling with being unknown.
Say it again.
30 seconds.
30 seconds? All right. I am here because I just wanted to network more because I realized I've been kind of keeping this project close to myself. And yeah, also about to pitch to publishers, so I have a pitch deck in the works. Let me just share my general screen for that. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. And eventually we'll be looking to, I guess, find development partners to work with. I have a composer so far, but yeah, after budgeting time out, realized I needed help, so.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. So questions, and I think I want the first one. Peter, this game looks absolutely amazing. The motion in the, I really enjoyed playing through Castle on the Coast. I think it was a year or so ago. And this game looks like it has, it really kind of takes the motion in that game to a really big new level. So really excited.
Yeah.
I have, I'll send it to you later, but I have a big spreadsheet of like around 50 indie publishers, some big, some small, in their contact information. I hope that might be of a little bit of help.
That'd be great. I'm definitely looking for somebody who can market something well.
Awesome. My question is, when you finished Castle on the Coast, did you end up reusing any of that technology for this new game, or did you mainly start fresh and just use your knowledge for this new game?
There's like barely any code that's reused because I wanted to refactor how I did things. Like I didn't feel very free in how I did level design in Castle on the Coast because it seemed like every puzzle required a fresh set of code. So like in this game, I don't know if it's a good example. If I can't find one, I'll just drop it. But here we go. I create these little nodes that can like link up to each other to create like logic for like playing music or like saving data, playing cutscenes, and whatnot. So a lot of the movement code of Castle on the Coast, like a lot of the same principles are in this game. So it should feel like Castle on the Coast. It's just there's more of it now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
George the Giraffe didn't have a grappling hook.
No. All right, questions?
Where did you get the art assets?
Art assets? I created them myself.
Wow.
Renaissance
now,
man.
A lot of what you're seeing here is actually blocked in. So here's just a cylinder and just a general primitive here. So I'm trying to capture the final feeling, but a lot of this actually is like final art.
Yes.
What did you use to create the art assets?
Blender. Yes.
What do you
because I found Blender is it's a lot more artist friendly, and also it's free, which doesn't hurt. But I'd say Blender has really unleashed me. I think, especially the fact you can sculpt things, and then like switch to poly modeling right away. So I was able to create these creepy hand-shaped mountains by sculpting them first, and then like down-resing them really fast. So yeah, just been really great for my workflow.
So what were some of the things that you learned from Castle on the Coast that you applied to this game?
I think I put a lot more focus on tooling for Veil, like just making the process of the development easier. That was a big thing. So, for instance, a lot of my translation work is automated. So let's see if I can bring up a little tool here. There we go, scripted action, text data helper. Yeah, so I've put a lot more focus on tooling. So in the game, like all my text and like voiceover work is actually stored in like individual like data assets, like individual U assets in the game instead of like a Google sheet, because I found myself constantly exporting and re-importing, just constantly re-importing. Sorry. How do I turn this off? All right. Sorry, I had a phone set for the amount of time I had. Yeah, so just a lot of tooling. Yeah. Each like piece of text in the game is stored in a separate file, and that allows me to export a script for my voice actors really quick. It allows me to like add text without managing a Google sheet, so it's really nice. It sorts itself.
So, and this is all very impressive. My big question is, clearly you've got sort of the Renaissance man thing going here, where you're doing the level design, you're doing the art, you're doing the engineering, you're doing the production, project management. What's been your learning strategy to acquire all of those skills at the level that you're operating at?
Just every time I have a problem, I guess I just bang my head against a wall till I fix it. But I've always had a tendency to be like an artist and a coder at the same time. Like during the brief time I was employed in the game industry proper, like working on AAA stuff, it was as a tech artist. So naturally I leaned that way. It's not for everyone for sure, doing this Renaissance style. But yeah, I in college I kept wanting to make a game, and the only way you can make a game really is to learn how to code, I guess. And the only way to make that game look good, because you're constantly being criticized for your art, is to do better art. So you can't get people interested in your game usually at the outset without good art. So I guess it's just kind of out of necessity, and maybe putting myself up to the standards of what I'd see on Steam. And I'd say I still haven't met those standards yet, like Castle on the Coast. I think a lot of people probably haven't played it because they didn't think the art looked good yet. But those who did play probably appreciated its charm. So.
Right. Questions? Yes.
My question was already answered, but I just wanted to say that I get the feeling I felt when I played the original Spyro the Dragon game, and I have never had that feeling again until right when I watched your video game, so it's like an amazing achievement.
Thanks. I was inspired by Spyro, like the first one specifically, because it's a very simple game, and that the only goal is just to collect all the gems in the level. And I really wanted to capture. I think I'm getting kind of tired of playing games where it's very complicated, like what you have to do to go through a level. Like there's a lot of story objectives that are a little more like very specific, I guess. So yeah, I did want like a very open level, and all you do is collect a thing, and that's all you do each level. Just the obstacles are what change things up. So yeah, definitely for the Spyro feel and the magic.
So any final questions?
Yeah, sure. I just want to say I love the way that it seems like there are so many recovery options in this game. If you like miss a jump or whatever, I mean, that's like I always was frustrated by that in like the Batman Arkham games. You're Batman and you barely miss a jump and you die, and it was like so ridiculous. It seems like this has so much freedom. Yeah.
You just I missed it, but there we go. I can recover like this.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
Sorry, what was the question? I'll let you answer.
No, it was just a compliment. It was like I love seeing that in this game. It makes it seem like it's so freeing to play it. Like it's just awesome.
Thanks. I am going for I am going for like more chill, like less challenge, more chill, but like an engaging kind of chill. Like you're using your mind to get around, but you're not punished as much. So that's the feel I was definitely going for.
So, so we are just about out of time. I have one final question. What is your timeline look like? How much of the game is finished? When do you believe you might be able to release this?
I have to think of the quarter. I have to calculate the quarter, but here's what I calculated was 6.77 dev years, and then if you divide that by 3 devs, 2.62 years. And then in terms of how much is done, we can go to my little level layout, and the little dotted line means a mechanic was developed for a level, like the core mechanic. And then if you see a solid line around the level, that means you can actually play through the level and it works. And then none of these are colored yet, but if it's colored, that means it has all the artwork in place. So right now, the first 2 levels are pretty nice looking, and that's what I'm submitting to publishers as my pitch. And then here's kind of like the whole game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. And a quick comment. I don't personally think you'll have much trouble getting publisher interest and getting into those conversations. The more of the game you have done when you talk to them, the better your potential deals will probably be. But I don't think you'll have any problem at all. This game is absolutely amazing. It looks awesome.
Thanks.
All right.
Because the bar's so high.
Yeah. All right, Peter. Thank you so much. Okay. So we have one more presenter, Jeremy Bond, to present some cool tech.
I hope so. Let's see. So, I'm on the call. Do you have my permissions and all that fun stuff, Corbin?
Yes, you're an organizer.
Awesome, thanks.
You
Oh,
have
well,
all
I can do
permissions.
anything! Yes!
You can
All right.
do it all.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Go.
Hey, folks. I'm Jeremy. Many of you probably know me now. If not, I hope to meet you. I'm sorry, I should have been around talking to people, but instead I was prepping this presentation. So, all right. Let's see. Why can't I? There we go. I'm just in the wrong place. All right. So, Coding Club is where we talk about things, and what I'm presenting today is this stuff. It's just some tools that I made initially based off something that Unity did to help document my projects for when I hand them off to my students. I'm handing it off to you, this documentation stuff off to you now. I would love to see if anybody uses it. You can pull it down right here as a Unity package. I'll do it right now to show, hey, check out Castle on the Coast, to show that, whatever, it's live. Here we go. Okay, cool. So in here, this is just an empty Unity project. I'm going to import that package. There we go. Well, whatever, that's not the version. It's the same thing, it's just in a different place on my hard drive. And you pull this stuff in. So one of the first things you'll notice when it pulls in and recompiles is that, hey, this is still the terrible layout that Unity always starts with. But you can load a layout file. And I'm going to load from Assets, my good friend Unity window layout file here, and click open, and boom, now it's something usable. Holy shit. So this is a project, I call it a project info. This is based on something that Unity was doing for their tutorials. I used it when I did the Unity Certified Programmer exam stuff for them. And what's really cool about it is it's just a scriptable object. So it's just a scriptable object over here. You can create a new one by going here to Scriptable Objects and choosing Project Info. If there's only one in the project, then every time you open the project, it will jump to that. Oh, this says Tripoli because that was the name of the project I was working on for my students, and I didn't fix it. But one thing that's really cool about this, if you hold down Option and kind of click, you can show Default Inspector, and that shows you down here the editor for all this information up there. So like example project info, hello world, right? And then I go up here and you can see it now says hello world up there. You can set the icon, and then all of these sections are just individual things, you know? So you can see that it's got Unity's version of rich text, which is basically just bold and italics, but it has bold and italics. It's got this cute thing where you can put a link in. So look, here's a link to my book. Yay! All right, we don't have time for that. It's really easy to edit these, move them around, and make something that will load whenever you open up the project. You can also get to it by saying show project instructions, but that's only if there's only one. By making a second one, I kind of screwed that up. I wanted to show that thing. Then here in my scene demo here, click me. All right. I made two other things. This thing is called an info component. It is just here to show text when you click on a game object. It's very similar, but it's got this sweet menu thing to show that default inspector so you can edit things, and then when you're done, you can click hide default inspector to hide it back. Another way you can get into these, I just noticed this recently, you can go into properties and it opens its own separate window for things like this. And then you can go old school by clicking go into debug. But the debug version of these is not as good as the default inspector version, which again you get to by clicking edit info component. And again, like, you know, all of this is, I can do this live, right? And yeah, so that's how that thing works. Then there's one more, this info inspector drawer. Let's go into the code. This is very much the same idea. Yeah, fine. But this is a single just instance of a class that you can put at the top of any of your, or anywhere in your script, make it public, and it will then show that information here at the top of the script. So I put documentation in for how to use various things that I've made right here. There's this kind of regular version, and then what I honestly use 90% of the time is this fold-out version. And so you can have lots of stuff in there to edit this. Again, same thing, you go into properties, and then with this one, if you set this to debug mode, you can open up the info foldout and say, oh, show it as a foldout. With this, I don't think, yeah, returns don't work in these fields, but you can hit \n/n. Hello.
60 seconds.
All right, there you go. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Awesome. Very good.
All right, so there you go. Use these. Let me know what you'd like them to do otherwise.
All right.
Thanks,
questions?
everybody. Oh, one more thing.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God! How did this crap happen where it's not aligned to the grid? If only Unity had made something that says snap to grid position here, but they didn't, so I did. The snapping is based on, if you click the little thing here and click the three dots and, oh, that's, nope. I don't know why I can't get to the grid settings there right now. Oh, it's because I'm in Unity 2021, and Unity 2021 is all weird. But anyway, if you find the grid settings, yeah, miscellaneous grid. Okay, nope. Anyway, it's somewhere in project settings. There's the grid settings, and when you set that, you can set what it snaps to, and that's a Unity thing. I'm done.
Excellent. Very
All
good.
right.
Very good.
Oh, what? Yeah.
Questions?
What kind of mix do you write info component, or is that something
Yeah.
you wrote it?
Yeah. So I wrote all of this except the like project info thing. Unity had a version of it that didn't have the rich text and didn't have tabs and didn't have new lines, and I added all that to it. Yeah. Cool. Yes.
So aside from like, I'm seeing like uses of like telling like for student use and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
But what other uses do you see for this?
Well, sometimes if I come back to a project after several months, I don't know what the hell I was doing, so that's pretty helpful. Also, you know, if you work with anybody else, I tend to try and make reusable components like this, and so, you know, when I distribute something like this, I can send it out. One of the examples I have is I made a tool that like parses an image of a level from like an old NES game into a tile map and a tile palette, and I wrote all the instructions for how to use it as like one of these project info things, so that it's just, you know, really easy. But I've been doing, honestly, the most of what I've been doing for myself is these info drawers or info inspector drawers. because that's just packed into the component and is right next to it. Cool.
Questions?
Any questions?
Comment. I'm very interested in the thing you just described. That takes existing
Oh!
screens and breaks them into palettes.
Sure, okay.
I can use that.
Send me a message on Discord and I'll share it with you. And if people want me to show it, I'll show it in January, I guess.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Any questions?
Oh, I can answer more questions.
Okay. Question? All right, Jeremy, thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to take about a 20-minute break, and at 8:30 we're going to come back for Layla Wilson, who's going to talk about the kind of, or actually it's a Q&A. We're going to learn about the life of an indie music composer, okay? So please grab some pizza if you want any, if there's any left. Bathrooms are right around the corner. Network, meet the person next to you, find out what their favorite game is if you've forgotten, and we'll see you in 20 minutes, okay? See you then.
How far are we?
I get it. It makes, I imagine when they were all free to do as they wish, we got some wild things. But that layout does look better.
What's up, Austin? I just wanted to, I meant to mention this earlier. There's this game I played recently. I know you're very into the indie side of especially indie horror. And this game came out pretty soon, I think it was, after the last presentation, but I could be wrong. I might have mentioned it before. This game called Signalis that came out. It's this little indie game made by 2 people over 8 years. Very reminiscent of the original old Silent Hill, old Resident Evil. I've seen a lot of buzz on Twitter from people being I grew up on the original Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and this made me cry just because.
check your views.
Yeah.
Oh no. There's a leak. Hey, Make it work. All right. I'll be like, you know, take you want to it's our game. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you for coming back. If you're having a good chat, and what you know that right now, the presentation on the night is really nice. Who she is and you have to correct me. Your SoundCloud has stuff going back from about 10 years. She has been an awesome indie composer for a very, very long time. Oh, and I think we're getting a little bit of echo. Are we?
It's somebody in Discord.
Oh, someone in Discord.
It's Jeremy.
But Woofle has been an indie composer for a very, very long time and has contributed to awesome projects. One of them just recently released, Freedom Planet 2. The game is a follow-up. It was in development for, I believe, about 7 years to Freedom Planet 1, a fantastic game. The reviews are off the charts. I encourage you to give it a play. And one of the reasons it is so well received is because of its spectacular music that Woofle made. She has worked on Leilani's Island, Spark the Electric Jester, Bunny Must Die, and a lot of other very cool indie projects as well. And we're very lucky to get to let us please welcome Woofle. So are you there? Can you hear us, Layla?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, let me turn up the volume a little bit here.
I got it.
We got it?
I got it.
And we got the video, I think, playing in the background. All right. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. So Layla, thank you so much for joining us. And to start off the Q&A, is it Woofle or Woofle?
So it's actually neither. It's like how you say book, Woofle. But I come up with it when I was 14. So um I generally you don't get to pick your handle twice once you're already in the industry, so I kind of have to stick with it.
Understood. Understood. And where did it come from?
So it was a combination of things. One of my favorite video game characters was named Waffle, and I really like cars and racing. I'm a bit of a gearhead. And there's a British term for V8 engine at idle, which is Woofle, and I went, 14-year-old me was like, this is it. This is the name that will carry me far into the future, and I will never regret picking it.
Yeah, yeah. You just mentioned that you are a race car driver. You're into racing, and you've also, I think, you're working on your 4th novel. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is right. I've been keeping awful busy. Kind of helps the creative juices flow if you have a couple outlets more than just one. Side hobby never hurt nobody.
So a question then: how do you find time to work on your music while you're doing novel work, while you are racing cars? Do you have any kind of productivity techniques for keeping yourself productive?
I'd say one of the best motivators is when you have several clients at once and a lot of work to get through. For me personally, that's what gets me really working. It's sort of hard to maintain a work-life flow when you got this many different interests, if you will, going on at once. But I would say also working in bursts helps a little bit with that. Um, I'll have like 1 month where I pick up 4 or 5 jobs and I just knock those all out. And then during other months where I know, middle of racing season or when I'm, in the editing phase of a novel, I know not to take quite as much work that month, but I always try to at least once a week do something, even if it's just for an album and not for a client.
Gotcha, gotcha. And the last question I'll ask before we get some audience questions, what kind of led you into, your indie composing career? Was there anything that got you into that? Why did it resonate with you?
So one thing that was kind of interesting about that was I started out in fan projects. It was Sonic fan projects for me, which is probably pretty obvious for anybody who's seen Freedom Planet. But you know, and this one thing I'll probably harp on this later when asked again. But like fan communities and fan projects are a pretty good way to get yourself um, surrounded by people who A, know your name, and B, want to work with you. Because some of these people will end up transcending the fan project sphere, shall we say, and they will tend to still work with the same people afterwards, meaning they'll pull you along with them. So that was what happened with me. I knew a guy who knew a girl who knew somebody else, and that was it. And it was all through working on fan projects. So um, that's how I got in, and I'm happy as a clam to be here. And now I can't hear you.
So,
there you are.
all right, we're back. So any questions in the audience? Right back.
Yeah, what inspired you to be a composer?
Chrono Trigger. I was playing that. I was a little just like God, how old I would have been 9, and I was playing this, and I went to you go to the Middle Ages in that 600 AD, and I heard that song and I went, wow, wonder who made that. Do people make that? Do people make video game music? I want to do that. And that was about it. Between that and Sonic 3, it kind of put me on the path, and I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah. A quick poll in the audience. Who has played Chrono Trigger? Who has played Sonic 3? Right. Quite a bit of the audience. Wonderful, wonderful soundtracks for sure. Question.
I'll say Chrono Trigger's the greatest game soundtrack ever made. But
It is.
outside of video games, like what's your favorite album of all time?
Whew. Oh, right in with the tough ones. That's kind of a mood thing for me. Like if I'm feeling, down or if I'm feeling happy, I would give you a completely different answer. Um, heck. Uh, well, I have been listening to a lot of That Boy by Hiroshi Sato recently. Come out in 1982. Japanese composer. I love city pop. I listen to that that's like my genre. So I see a thumbs up. Yeah, that album is amazingly put together. Great flow. Really moody. Just the lyrics, like he sings a lot of them in English, and they're really touching. That's definitely got to be one of my favorites. Transfusion by Yuji Toriyama is another one. Um, I definitely say ranks up there. Just fantastically put together. And City, as a quick aside, definitely influenced the heck out of the video game music genre early. A lot of those artists who were making early game music in the 8 and 16-bit era had grown up listening to that. So I don't know. It's worth a listen if you're going for an old school sound.
Awesome. Question. Questions? Nate?
Sure, I'm curious about the technical stack you're using for the composition. So are you Pro Tools, Ableton, Contact Player? Like, what are you working with?
So this one's kind of funny because no one I have spoken to uses this DAW to the point where I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. It's called Acoustica Mixcraft. I do use a lot of other VSTs through it. I've got Contact, I'm using through it. I've been using Nexus recently. Trying to remember the name of the studio that makes Nexus, but they're up to version 4 now, and just the sheer breadth of sounds you have in there is invaluable, and they're all in one place. So I've been using a lot of that recently, and since I really like me some 80s music, lots of Korg products, Korg M1, Korg Wave Station, stuff like that. But yeah, Acoustica Mixcraft. Never met anyone else who uses it, but it works.
Awesome. Question.
Do you have a background in music theory, and do you think it's necessary to being a composer for video games?
Now that's a good question. That was one I was hoping to get to answer. So no, I have never studied. I can't read music. I barely know what an 11th is, but I know how to play them. My ears know. And that doesn't mean that music theory will hurt you. It's a difference of degree, it's a different perspective. You'll learn the names to a lot of things that your ears already know if you end up learning it after you learn to play. But no, I just taught myself. When I was a little girl, I just kind of play around on neighbors' pianos and stuff until my folks bought me an old one, and that was that. But no, music theory, it is useful. It does have a use. Um, it's just some people learn it, some people don't. I don't think it's necessary, but it can help.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Question.
Yeah. Do you ever use live musicians or like regular instruments in your composition? And would you ever try to like compose something for a large body of musicians, like an orchestra or something like that?
Boy, that'd be fun. The orchestra would be a lot of fun. I ain't never put any thought to it because I feel as if I don't know, maybe if there's like a touring indie orchestra, I guess that's something that would pick something like that up. But no, insofar as real instruments, I have done collaborations with other folks who use them before, and I love mixing and matching stuff like that. I just don't have the setup here to really record my guitar or anything like that. So for the time being, it's all digital, but if you work with these programs long enough, it's very, very easy to mix the two or switch over completely, given you have the right recording equipment and whatnot.
Awesome. Very good. So I've got a question, and I think you mentioned this a little bit, but your list of games is very long now. You've made some fantastic stuff. When you were first getting started, I'm curious, are there any projects that you saw as kind of your big break? And also, do you have any advice for musicians who are still kind of looking for that big first project that gets their indie career going?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that one is also quite interesting. So, big break, I guess, was the moment I saw my name in the credits of a game on Steam, and I believe the first one was Hitagata Hapa, which was like 2010, 2011, and that was the one that I'd gotten through the connections I'd made in the fan community, in the fan project community, and it's not like I was getting emails the next day, but it was steady. I got one more job from that company, and then Sabrina, the lady who runs Galaxy Trail and created Freedom Planet, played the second game I scored for that company, and she saw my name in the credits, and that was that. I think Freedom Planet was the first game where it was a bit wider scope as far as the fan base went than either Hitsugata Hapa or Bunny Must Die. They had a very niche audience, but this was the first one with kind of crossover appeal. So I suppose you could say either of those, but yeah. The best advice I can give, and I'll probably harp on this a few more times, if you're passionate about any game series and they have a fan community and they make fan projects, or there's anything adjacent to that, just absolutely stick your foot in that door. And, don't let them slam it on you. Show them what you got. Let them know, hey, I can do stuff, and just kind of just be around those communities. Make sure that your music is heard. um, it may not be glamorous, and I'll be honest with you, fan projects, you're not gonna get paid. Um, but I know for exposure is a meme, but that a little bit of that can go a long way, and any way that you can get in there, that's gonna advance you forward. You really have to start at the bottom. I even where I'm at, I'm not gonna get a call from Squaresoft tomorrow. But there are a lot of indie developers out there, and they need music, and they're gonna need you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've worked with and contributed to a ton of games. I'm curious, do you have any tips or techniques that are non-music related for making sure those relationships are going to be positive and impactful and productive? Any tips for working with your clients?
I got a few of them. One thing you're gonna have to do is a lot of the clients you're gonna get are they fall into two or three camps, I'd say. There's the best clients, these really chill people who will just talk to you one-on-one. Um, then there are corporate clients who you kind of have to manage your language around. If you're like me and you do a lot of XDs and cat smiley faces, that's probably not going to fly with that crowd. The chill crowd will be fine with that, but you kind of have to mold yourself into what they're looking for. There's also a lot of indie clients who are younger. They are perfectly happy for you to XD and cat face all over the place. But um, yeah, I would definitely say mold yourself into what they're looking for, and don't over communicate with the corporate ones unless you really have to and really have some important questions. Generally, they're very busy and they tend to value their time. Um, Heck, yep. I don't know. I don't know if that's a solid answer, but it's what I got.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely a solid answer. And do not worry, I won't ask you what category I fell into as a client.
You're in the chill category.
Yes.
Yeah, you talk to me like a normal person, so I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Sounds good. So the advice is appreciated because in our crowd we have a lot of people who, maybe they're musicians, but they might also be artists or engineers
Yeah.
who are looking to join and collaborate with projects and find contracts. I'll actually ask you kind of the flip question. Is there anything that game directors or producers, the people who are looking for musicians, is there anything that they can do to make the relationship a bit easier, a bit more productive, make things easy for the musician?
I think there are two more categories of clients that are on top of those other ones that there's Venn diagrams and whatnot. Point being, there's the type of client will come to you and go, "Oh, you make music right here," or the type that familiarizes themselves with your work. Now, if you're looking to hire a musician, don't just pick a name out of a hat, because you might not end up getting what you're looking for. Chances are you won't. You will want to look around at various musicians. I'd suggest looking in fan communities. I'd suggest looking on SoundCloud. Look around for people who sound like what you want out of your game. Listen to their music. Be able to communicate with them. Hey, this song you did, that's the sound I'm looking for. Because if you just come to them with a, "Hey, you make music, right?" It's kind of like when your grandma's like, "You know computers, right?" It we don't like that because we know we're all going to have a bad time.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Do we have any questions in the crowd? Question.
Do you do most of your work remotely or I guess in person?
I'm exclusively remote. Um, Mostly because most of the game devs up here in Washington State are, big companies, and I don't really work for those. So now I just have a little office in my bedroom and been working out of there since forever, I guess.
Question.
This is sort of in the vein of something you just kind of talked about, but I was just curious, what is the most common source material you end up with when making music for other people's games? Like, do developers usually provide you with footage or screenshots or like just a raw description of what they're looking for? Or will they like link you to other music like on YouTube, be like, we want something that kind of sounds like this? Like, what is the most commonly, the most common avenue you get information about their game to try to build music for it?
The most common would be the YouTube link thing you mentioned, followed by screenshots, and lastly, textual descriptions. Um, Tends to be when I get a textual description, it is pretty long, provided there's nothing else. But a lot of the time, um, what's best to send or receive, for that matter, is just a combination of the three, if applicable. Um, Getting references from clients where they say, "This is the sound I'm looking for," that is mwah, chef's kiss. Um, but on top of that, if you don't have the text or the pictures, it's a little bit harder to kind of, because the client doesn't necessarily, they can't reach inside your head. They're hiring you because they want your perspective, and you're not going to be able to give your perspective with only references in text or picture. So most commonly, I get all three. To get back to the actual answer, but there's merit in all of those. And now I can't hear again.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Question.
So we've talked about composition. Have you also veered into sound design or Foley or voiceover or those areas as well, the sort of adjacent?
So I had attempted before to make sound effects for some projects early on. I can do it, but I tend to kind of shy away from it aside from menu sounds. I made a good few of those recently. Um, I always wanted to do voiceover, but with a twang like this, I just don't know who'd want to hire me. But you know, yeah, there's a whole world of sound out there that would be pretty fun to get involved with.
Awesome. Very good. Questions? So I've got one. You mentioned that you're there in Washington and you do a lot of your work remotely, which is super cool. Right, you're talking to the Michigan game dev scene. We've got our little scene here, and I think sometimes we all wonder, like, what's the scene like in other places? So do you, participate with any like Washington musical groups or composition groups, or are there any meetups out there that you can, go to hang out with other musicians?
I'm assuming there are. I ain't found any yet, but I also ain't looked terribly hard because, well, truth be told, I'm incredibly shy. Um, but I really think that there should be scenes like the one you've got there everywhere, and there might be. Yours is incredibly organized, so I'm like, okay, that's how it's done right. I'm assuming there must be a scene like that out there because or out here because we've entered an era where anyone can make a video game, anyone can make a hit, anyone can make their dreams. And you know, banding together like this, it gives you a network of people you can reach out to. You know people who can do this or that or the other, and you can really get things done that way. But I'll have to look into that about the Seattle scene. I would assume there is, given that it's Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I've got another question here. So we've talked a little bit about some of the contract projects that you've contributed to. Do you have any projects or games that you're working on or looking forward to that will be your own, original IP that you end up owning?
Yeah, I've been working on one with a small studio that's me and 4 friends from all over the globe. And we're working on an RPG because that's my favorite genre. Um, gosh, I wouldn't even be able to elevator pitch it. But it is heavily story-driven, sci-fi, spacefaring stuff. Um, with a kind of a city pop 80s soundtrack and aesthetic, kind of like 80s anime. These are all things that I like, and fortunately, the other 4 do too. Otherwise, we wouldn't get very far. But I'm really looking forward to that. We're taking our time with it. It ain't gonna get done in a timely manner, but it will get done eventually. And I think we've got a lot of really neat little things about it, neat features, neat ideas, especially the narrative. So, um, yeah, I got that I'm looking forward to. I don't know how much I should say yet because it's a long ways off, but I'm really looking forward to that one.
One of the fun things about making the game and owning the game is that you get to decide what's a spoiler and what's not, and when to bust those out.
Yep.
But it's cool stuff, and I can't wait for it to see the project when it comes to light of day. I've got another question, and this is maybe a little bit of a funny one, but you've worked on so many projects now, and they're so fantastic. Have you ever been surprised to hear music you've worked on in a place you didn't expect, like in the background of a YouTube video, or I don't know, someplace? It's a little bit embarrassing. I play your music in my car on full blast sometimes, so that's why I ask.
I don't think that's embarrassing. I remember I was just kind of messing around on YouTube watching reviews of 80s anime because this is the reality I've chosen. And there in the background is one of the songs from Freedom Planet 1. And I kind of hear it out of the corner of my ear, as it were, because I'm listening to the fella talk and he's going on about stuff. And I go, wait, that sounds awfully familiar in the background. I keep listening. Oh, man, I know that song. And gosh, yeah, there was that, and there was a time I was on furry YouTube, and I was looking around at all the folks on there, and I was listening to this one person kind of talk about their life experience and all that, and I hear in the background, I go, "Oh my God, that's the same song! It's the same darn song." So those are both very surprising. One in that furries actually listen to my music, which was a surprise to me because, you know, I didn't think I was to their taste. And two, um, yeah, hearing it in a review of the type of material I like to consume, I was like, oh, wow. I didn't think people in that sphere would find my music interesting either. I'd expect it in a review of the game itself. I might expect it in another indie game review, but furries and 80s anime enthusiasts, I didn't think that was a Venn diagram. I thought it was 2 circles, and I didn't think that I fit in either of them.
Awesome, very good, very good. Any questions from the audience? Yes.
Do you, as someone who makes music for games, think that, as I'm a student and I have to sometimes throw music in games because I'm not a music composer, like other people's music, what's your opinions on that being done, for smaller stuff. Obviously for bigger stuff it's wrong, but like, I mean like for just like small independent projects.
I think that it's an important way to get those projects made, especially if a song really speaks to you when you're making a game. Um, I've always never really had a problem with piracy. I'm sure you can hear the air quotes there, because at the end of the day, the more people that enjoy my music, the happier I am. But on top of that, I feel that it's beneficial to the musician as well as the person making the project. The musician may get their music heard by people who would have never heard it otherwise. And as for the project maker, they might find the perfect song from another game or another medium or something like that. And I mean, they're small projects. It's not, like people are looking at huge profits. I'd say that's, the way to go, especially if you got to finish up something quick for school. I mean, just yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a good thing personally.
A quick note on that. In my course, my game dev course, I typically restrict students from using audio and assets that they don't have a license to. So open source and public domain stuff is great. Stuff they make is great, but you can't just grab the Mario theme and put it in your project. I once I had a team who really enjoyed the Payday game series. And they really, really loved a certain song, and they wanted to use it in their trailer very badly. And I kind of made a joke to them, like, well, no, you can't use this. Unless you literally reached out to the Payday team and got their permission, like, you can't use this. And that was a joke. I said that as a joke. They went and did it. And they said yes.
Success.
So it was really cool, and so it's good to hear your perspective. Any audience questions? Audience questions? Hey?
I have a follow-up to that question. So how do you typically work the licensing? So obviously you're doing the composition, the song is showing up in a game that somebody else is presumably paying for. Are you doing like a royalty-based license? Are you just selling all the rights? Are you retaining the rights to like put that on an album of your own or to resell into another game? Is there a boilerplate for that, or is it different on every project?
It's kind of different on every project. I tend to kind of just go with the flow of what the client wants a lot of the time. Um, you can kind of gauge it if you're a musician. You can kind of gauge what's going to be more advantageous to putting food on your table. That might be royalties in some cases. In other cases, it's going to be safer to take payment up front, which is what I prefer is just the flat rate. But I've had a little bit of everything. I even had one contract early on by another indie developer who mandated in the contract that I put together an album and sell it myself and keep all the profits from it. Some clients are really cool. So it's a mixed bag. You can definitely negotiate with some clients, not so much the corporate ones. But personally, yeah, I have a slight preference for the flat fees, but I can take it or leave it on any of those as long as I get paid. Um, you've got a serious client when they come in with a big long contract. You're probably not going to be able to negotiate much. You might, but yeah, I tend to go with what the client wants.
Awesome. So any questions from the audience? Questions from the audience? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey Woofle, I was really inspired by your songs and my caverns. But
Oh my gosh, thank you.
I think we talked before. I emailed you once.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, you remember it? Yay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the question I had was how do you like being involved in the creative process of a game? I keep wondering this because I know some composers like being involved very early. Um, what's your perspective on that? Like, how do you like to influence the game's direction, I guess?
I think that depends on the project, I'd say, because in the case of some games, the folks who are making it have an extremely clear vision and they're like, no, we're going to do this, this, and this. But in the case of, other games, they're a little looser. I've had some people come to me and, ask for input since I'm a writer and stuff like that. I do like being able to help out and influence decisions where I can if I am asked to. Um, I find it a lot of fun, especially writing. I love writing. Um, but I don't really. It's another case if I don't really have a preference. It depends on the project. There's some games that I'm like, ooh, I have some really neat ideas, but I oftentimes that can feel as if I were overstepping my bounds, and I kind of not really down with that. So yeah. Short answer, it depends on the game.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Hey, no problem.
All right. Do we have any more audience questions? Yes.
How do you, because I know like a couple of musicians, they have their own specific genres, but do you ever like to branch out into other things and explore and experiment with other genres for like various client music, or do you just keep to your thing and do your thing for clients?
Oh yeah, I love genre jumping. Love it. It kind of I'm trying to look for the word. It diversifies your portfolio to sound fancy like. Um, and personally, I love trying new things. I love trying new genres. There's a project I was working on recently, and all of the references were from Lemon Demon. I'm like, oh, I'd never really heard them before, and I listened to that, and I kind of learned from it a little bit, and yeah, got to make something completely different. I'm like, oh, okay, that's neat. That's I think it's a good thing to do as a musician, and I think I think it's really really fun myself.
Yeah, Lemon Demon, that hit the nostalgia bone pretty hard. Anyone remember Albino Black Sheep back in the day? Right?
Oh my gosh, that's going back.
Yeah, those that's where I saw a lot of their stuff, those Flash videos.
Yep.
Just phenomenal stuff. Any audience questions? Any audience questions? Any audience questions on Discord? Going once, going twice? I have one final question. Layla,
All right.
why are foxes the best?
It's the fluff. I would say, they're about 90% fluff, 10% tail. They got the little cold nose, they poke you with it. It's great. I love them. They make horrible noises at night and are terrifying, and they smell really bad, but they're awfully cute. So it's kind of a, you take the good with the bad, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Layla, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge and experience with us. Your music is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to play. I haven't played it yet, Freedom Planet 2, and I hope everyone in the room will consider doing so. But thank you again for spending your time with us.
Hey, no problem.
Maybe one final question. Go.
Do you have a Spotify?
No, I just use SoundCloud because I couldn't. It's embarrassing, but I couldn't quite figure out the process for getting on Spotify. Jeez, I can't even talk tonight. I'll probably sneak on there eventually. It is, I would say, it's a good source of income because SoundCloud has been thus far. But yeah, all I have is SoundCloud for now.
Gotcha, and that reminds me, I know you got a super busy slate, but if someone in the room wanted to reach out for a potential commission or to work with you, how would they do that?
I'd say probably through SoundCloud DMs. I'd say Twitter, but I don't know if it's going to be here at the end of the week. So, I through those. You can get me. My email I check less than I should, but you can probably also reach me there or through here. I'll extend that offer to people who are in this room right now because I don't want the whole world to have my Discord, but y'all can. So that would be the place to reach me, and I'll probably be opening up again December, January. I'll probably have slots again.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and all the best from us here in Michigan, Layla. Thank you. Okay, everyone, that's essentially going to be a wrap for the night. We're going to give you one more chance if you've got any community announcements, anything you'd like to announce or shout out, any events coming up. right? Okay, go for it.
Sure. Michigan State, we're going to have our fall game showcase Wednesday, December 14th at some time. We haven't decided yet, but it's going to be sometime on the 14th in the afternoon or the evening.
We're probably going to organize some sort of carpool. If anyone's in the Ann Arbor
That'd be
area,
awesome.
I'm going to try and get people out there to East Lansing.
And hey, what might people do the week before that?
Oh, we have the U of M and EMU showcase that will probably be a week or two before that. So we'll announce it. You'll get that information maybe more often than you want in the next few weeks. Okay? I feel a little bit spammy sometimes. I apologize. The problem is it works.
Do we have a meetup next month?
What's that?
Do we have a meetup next month?
We do not have a normal meetup next month. Next month, December, is all about those showcases, so we'll be announcing and advertising those, so we'll hope to see you all there to support our students, okay? Any other community announcements? Okay, so please take a look. If there's any pizza left, you're welcome to grab some slices or take the thing home if you want. In about, probably about like 20 to 30 minutes, a group of us will probably walk across town to get some burgers, and have dinner and keep chatting. Until then, feel free to keep networking, and thank you so much for coming. We'll see you next time. Also, managing the tech situation, very, very difficult, so can we have a hand for Corbin Reeves, please? All right, thank you all for coming. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.